YGO Strats single card discussions, going to be talking about some of the cards that have impacted Yu-Gi-Oh! Throughout the years. Today's card, the card to make level 7 synchros something to fear, Black Rose Dragon. Black Rose Dragon was first released in Crossroads of Chaos in 2008, with notable reprints including the 2008 Collectible Tins, Legendary Collection 5D's Mega Pack in 2014, Premium Gold Infinite Gold in 2016, Duelist Saga in 2017, as well as Lightning Overdrive and Maximum Gold El Dorado, both in 2021. Its history on the ban list was a brief one, being limited from 3 to 1 on the September 2009 ban list, where it stayed for 1 full year before being put right back to 3 on the September 2010 ban lists, where as of this video, it has stayed ever since. A level 7 fire attribute dragon type synchro monster with 2400 attack and 1800 defense, requiring any tuner and 1 or more non-tuners, its effect reads: when this card is synchro summoned, you can destroy all cards on the field. Once per turn, you can banish 1 plant monster from your graveyard, then target 1 defense position monster your opponent controls. Change that target to face-up attack position, and if you do, its attack becomes 0 until the end of this turn. This is a monster with 2 effects. One niche, but otherwise solid one that can maybe help steal a game, and another insane one that could turn the tide in a duel and otherwise demands an answer. Black Rose's effect is strong enough to have warranted play for over a decade, with the card seeing play from release up until just about the modern day. YGOTopDeck.com put the last YCS top of a deck playing this card as Trickstar in November 2018, where it was played in the extra deck of the first place player. And it's seen play in a handful of decks that have topped at a regional level, not just as a cherries target either. And that's because it's really one of the strongest effects in the game with virtually no cost. Complete board wipes are almost always reserved for cards that require some sort of sizable effort to get off. Ojama Delta Hurricane and Death's Croaking, 2 spell cards with the same effect that require you to get out 3 monsters that are either tricky to get out or were otherwise almost useless. Even newer archetypes have high costs for this effect. For Hire has 1 on the field spell that requires you to control 5 differently named monsters for hire, or cards like Rongo have it as the reward for having 5 materials on it. But Black Rose, the hard work you need to put in to summon it is just any materials that make a level 7 synchro. That's it. A tuner and a non-tuner whose level makes 7, and the opponent can lose every card they have just because you have this card in your extra deck. And unlike most of those cards I mentioned earlier, you don't need to find it in your deck. By being in your extra deck means you can access it at just about any point in the duel whenever you would like to use it. It's like having Dark Hole and Heavy Storm all in one, playable whenever you feel is best. Both of which are cards that have spent a good amount of time on the ban list, mind you. Granted, it's not an auto win by itself, as a board wipe is only as good as the play that follows it up, and if you've got a deck that only makes 1 real push per turn, it won't save you if the opponent has the means to pop off on their next turn. But at the same time, blowing up the field and then setting 2 trap cards, making it so the opponent has to play through disruption, while on their next turn they're potentially playing with very limited resources, can easily turn the tide of momentum to the point where it feels impossible to come back from. Which is a big part of why I think this card has seen play so long after its release, even after every other card of its meta era fell out of use. As the game has gone on, it's gotten easier and easier for decks to have extenders to make plays past their normal summon or without even having to use it, which means Black Rose is never a bad card to have in your toolbox of an extra deck. Clear the board first and then make way with your actual plays is a solid turn if you can get it off, and otherwise Black Rose is an excellent way to force a negate. And even today, if your extra deck has the space, it's not a bad tech choice. Plenty of decks play level 4 monsters, and even more decks play some number of the Ghost Girls, like Ash Blossom or Ghost Ogre, meaning it's not hard to make it without having to seriously alter your core deck at all. The other effect, to banish a plant from the grave to put a defense position monster in attack and make that attack 0, is cute, but very rarely comes up, especially in the grand scheme of this card having seen play. Tengu plants probably did it from time to time. I can personally remember using it to win exactly 1 duel with Sylvans in like 2015 or something, but the plant restriction coupled with the lack of defense position monsters that you'll see in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Keep it from being a key piece. That being said, I'm sure Super Heavy Samurai players just can't stand that effect at all. Black Rose was popular enough to even get an entire archetype for it, that or it was in the anime, so it was inevitable that it would happen at some point. I'd like to think it's a bit of both. Rose Dragons were released properly in the Sisters of the Rose Duelist pack, and while they're far from a competent archetype, they have shown themselves to be a solid engine in other decks, a fact which could in the future help to keep Black Rose in the meta for just a little while longer. Plus, I have no qualms saying that it is one of the coolest monster designs in the game, a dragon that's also a rose. I love both the original art and the newest alternate art, even to the point where I can overlook the awful gold foiling on the new one. There is a reason it's one of the few monsters not from the original series to get a figure, after all. Overall, Black Rose is one of very few cards that can truly be called an extra deck staple, that consistently saw play for years throughout this game's history, and one that will surely continue to see play sporadically in the years to come. As long as clearing the field is a good play, Black Rose will be a good card. And so that's our look at Single Card Discussion's Black Rose Dragon. Stay tuned for our next video and feel free to suggest some cards to review or what type of video you'd like to see. Don't forget to like and, as always, subscribe to YGO Strats so you too can become a true duelist.